Hey, welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the big ideas. So today, we're jumping into James Clear's Atomic Habits. It's all about this wild idea that huge, remarkable results, they actually come from the tiniest changes. And the story behind it all, well, it starts somewhere you'd never ever guess.
So you might think a book like this starts with some cool productivity hack, right? Nope. The story of Atomic Habits actually begins with a catastrophic injury. That quote you see, that's the author, James Clear, and he's struggling just to remember his own mom's name. This was moments after an accident that literally shattered his entire world.
And look, this wasn't just some minor setback. He was hit in the face with a baseball bat during practice. We're talking multiple skull fractures, life-threatening brain swelling. He was put in a medically induced coma. It was this one single, violent moment that, believe it or not, became the starting point for a journey that would totally change how he thought about, well, everything. Progress, achievement, all of it.
All right, so let's get into it. Section 1, a near-fatal injury.
In his road back, it was just brutal. He had double vision and seizures for months. And when he finally gets back to baseball, his great passion, he gets cut from the varsity team. Can you imagine? What a humiliating blow. Even when he makes the team as a senior, he barely plays. The big dreams he had, it felt like they were just completely slipping away.
This leads us right into Section 2, the power of tiny gains.
So, since he couldn't make these huge, heroic leaps forward, he decided to focus on what he could control. And it was really simple stuff, just going to bed early every night, keeping his dorm room clean, hitting the weights a few times a week, getting his study habits in order. Each one of these things was just a tiny 1% improvement. But you know what? They gave him a sense of control back. And that's when the momentum really started to build.
Now, these little habits, they didn't bring success overnight, not at all, but they started to compound. He went from being at the very bottom of the baseball roster his freshman year to slowly climbing up. Then he became a starter, then team captain, and by his senior year, he was named the top athlete at his university and an academic All-American. It took 6 years, but those tiny gains added up to something that would have seemed absolutely impossible back when he was recovering.
This right here is the magic of compounding. It's perfectly captured in this quote that hangs in the San Antonio Spurs locker room. The idea that it's not the 101st blow that splits the rock, it's all 100 that came before it. And that is exactly how our habits work.
Here's another way to think about it. Imagine a plane flying from LA. If you shift its heading by just 3.5 degrees, which is almost nothing, you'd never notice it at takeoff, it lands in Washington, D.C. instead of New York. It's a completely different destination. And our small habits are just like that. Day to day, they feel like they're doing nothing, but you keep it up, and one day you look back and realize, wow, you're in a totally different place.
Which brings us to a really core idea in the book. Section 3, forget goals, focus on systems. Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. We're all taught to focus on goals, right? The big results we want to achieve. But Clear says forget the goals. Focus on your systems. The system is the process that leads to the results. And here's the kicker. Winners and losers, they often have the exact same goals. The person who runs the marathon and the person who doesn't both wanted to finish it. The difference isn't the goal, it's the system of continuous small improvements they followed. And when you have a good system, you can actually be happy anytime you're following it, instead of waiting for that one moment you hit the goal. But it goes even deeper than that. Section 4, change your identity. So most of us, when we try to change something, we start from the outside in. We focus on the outcome, what we want. I want to lose 20 pounds. But Clear says that real lasting change, it has to happen from the inside out. It has to start with your identity, with your beliefs about yourself. The goal isn't just to lose the weight. The real goal is to become the type of person who doesn't miss workouts, who enjoys being active.
Think about it like this. Your identity is basically your repeated beingness. It's built from your habits. Every single action you take is like casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. So every time you go for a run, you're casting a vote that says, hey, I'm a runner. Every time you write a page, you're casting a vote for I'm a writer. The goal isn't just to run a marathon, it's to become a runner.
And here's a kind of surprising but perfect example of how this works. One of Clear's readers wanted to stop biting his nails, so his wife scheduled a manicure for him. And what happened was, well, for the first time, his fingers looked really nice. And all of a sudden, he started to feel proud of his nails. And just like that, he never chewed them again. The bad habit just vanished. Why? Because it just didn't fit with his new identity as someone who takes pride in their hands.
So, what's the big takeaway here? It's that the most practical way to change who you are is to change what you do, one tiny atomic habit at a time. Your daily choices aren't just little things you check off a to-do list. They're votes. They're shaping your very identity. So the question to leave you with is a simple one. Every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. Who are you voting for today?